I used to think betrayal would come like a gunshot. Sudden, loud, impossible to miss. Turns out, it's more like a slow leak in your roof. You don't notice it at first. Just a little damp spot in the corner of your ceiling. Then, one day, the whole damn thing collapses on your head. That's how it started with Lisa. We had been married 8 years. Comfortable years. The kind where you don't think twice about your wife kissing you goodbye in the morning or how she hums while cooking dinner. The kind where trust is assumed until it isn't. Lisa and I had our routines. Mornings together at the kitchen table, drinking coffee, talking about the day ahead. Evenings spent unwinding on the couch, sharing little details about work, venting about bad drivers, arguing over which takeout place to order from. Normal, married life. The kind that felt sturdy, reliable. So when she started acting different, I didn't notice at first. It wasn't like she became cold overnight. It was subtle, like a song that sounds the same on the surface, but if you listen closely, you realize the melody is off. It started with the hesitations. "How was your day?" I'd ask. Before, she'd jump into a story about some annoying coworker or a ridiculous email chain at work. But now, she'd pause, just for a second, like she was filtering her response. Then came the evasions. I'd mention a funny post I saw on social media, something I knew she'd laugh at. But instead of her usual reaction, she'd nod absently, barely looking up from her phone. Speaking of her phone, that was the biggest change. Lisa used to be careless with it. Left it on the couch, on the kitchen counter, sometimes even forgot to charge it overnight. She'd ask me to check notifications for her while she was in the shower, or to text someone back if her hands were messy while cooking. But now, that phone never left her side. It was always face down, always on silent. And when she got a message, she'd tilt the screen away before checking it. The first time I noticed, I brushed it off. Everyone goes through phases of wanting more privacy, right? But then there were the late nights. Lisa had always been a homebody. We both were. Our idea of a good night was a movie, some takeout, and a few drinks on the couch. But suddenly, she was going out more. At first, she had reasons: work happy hours, birthday drinks with friends. But those nights out became more frequent, and the explanations became more vague. "Where were you?" I asked one evening when she came home late. Her response was too perfect. "Oh, just a girls' night. You know how Jessica is. One drink turns into 5. She laughed, shaking her head. Jessica. That was Lisa's oldest excuse. The problem? Jessica moved 2 states away last year. I didn't say anything, just nodded and kept watching TV. But I started paying attention, and that's when I saw all the little things I had been blind to before. It wasn't just one night. Lisa's girls' nights became a pattern. At first, it was once or twice a month, nothing out of the ordinary. Then, almost like clockwork, it became every Friday. Then Fridays and Saturdays. Then random weeknights, always with some vague excuse. "Don't wait up for me," she'd say, grabbing her purse. You know how the girls are when they get a little wine in them. The first time, I smiled and kissed her goodbye. The third time, I barely looked up from the couch. The 7th time, I started paying attention. Lisa had always been a homebody, just like me. We liked our quiet weekends. Our thing was ordering takeout, watching dumb movies, and making fun of the bad acting together. We used to laugh at couples who partied every weekend like they were still in college. Now, suddenly, she was one of them. She was always in a hurry to leave. Never invited me to come along. Never had a solid answer when I asked where they were going. Just a dismissive, "Oh, you wouldn't like it. Just bar hopping, you know?" Yeah, I knew. But that wasn't the only thing that changed. Lisa started dressing differently. Now, don't get me wrong. She'd always been attractive, always took care of herself. But these nights? This was different. Tight dresses. Heels she hadn't worn in years. Perfume, more than usual. She even bought new lingerie. That part stuck with me the most, because she sure as hell wasn't wearing it for me. Then there was the phone. Lisa used to be careless with it. Left it on the kitchen counter, in the bathroom, sometimes even forgot to charge it overnight. She'd ask me to check messages for her if she was busy cooking or showering. It was nothing to her. Now, that phone was glued to her hand. It was always face down, always on silent. At first, I thought I was imagining things, but then I noticed the little habits she had picked up. Tilting the screen away from me when she got a text, hitting the lock button when I walked by, taking it with her into the bathroom, even for a 30-second trip. One night, while she was in the shower, I heard her phone buzz on the nightstand. I glanced at it, just a quick peek. No notifications. Weird. But then it buzzed again, and again. Still no notifications on the screen. That's when it hit me. She had set specific conversations to do not disturb. I didn't touch it. Didn't need to. That told me everything I needed to know. Still, I wasn't about to jump to conclusions. I needed something solid. So I started testing her. Hey, can I borrow your phone? Mine's dead. A flash of panic crossed her face. It was quick, just a flicker, but I caught it. Then she forced a casual smile. Oh, I left it in the car, she said, a little too quickly. Then, before I could say another word, she grabbed her purse and left the room. 5 minutes later, she came back, casually scrolling through her screen. Found it, she said brightly. I just nodded. Didn't even ask to borrow it again. I didn't need to. She needed time to delete something. That was the moment I knew for sure. But I wasn't about to confront her without proof. No, I was going to be smart about this. I was going to catch her in the act. I didn't confront her. Not yet. If Lisa was cheating, I needed proof. Real proof. Not just gut feelings. Not just little changes in behavior. I needed something I could throw in her face when the time came. So I played it smart. I acted like nothing was wrong. Smiled when she kissed me goodbye before her girls' nights. Laughed at her dumb excuses. Even pretended to be distracted when she got those suspicious texts, like I didn't notice the way she tilted her screen away. Meanwhile, I started digging. First, I checked our bank statements. Lisa and I had always been open about money. We had a shared account for bills, groceries, the usual stuff. She had her personal checking account, and I had mine. But we always knew where the money was going. Until now. Over the last 4 months, I noticed withdrawals. Small at first, $50 here, $80 there. Then larger ones, $200, $300. All from ATMs, different locations each time. The most interesting part? None of these withdrawals lined up with any of our expenses. Lisa wasn't spending more money at home. She wasn't coming home with new clothes, new shoes, anything I could see. So where was the money going? I had a bad feeling I already knew. I needed more. So I waited for my chance to get into her phone. And it came faster than I expected. One night, Lisa had one too many glasses of wine after coming home late. She went upstairs, mumbling about needing a shower before bed, and left her purse on the couch. And there it was. Her phone. Unlocked. Right in front of me. I didn't hesitate. I grabbed it, flipped through her recent apps, messages, WhatsApp, Snapchat, Gmail. Then I saw it. A text conversation with a saved number. No name. Him. The messages weren't anything blatant. But they didn't need to be. Him. Did you transfer the rest? We need it ready soon. Lisa. Yeah, took it out today. Should be good. Him. Perfect. You're amazing. My stomach clenched. What the hell were they talking about? What needed to be ready? More money? I scrolled up, looking for more clues. But Lisa, being careful, must have deleted most of the conversation. There were only a few scattered messages left. Still, it was enough. Then I checked her photos. And that's when I found them. Not the kind of photos you'd think. Not nudes, not selfies with some guy. Screenshots. Of fake texts. Lisa had saved drafts of text messages in her notes app. Messages she had never sent. I don't know what to do anymore. He's so aggressive when he drinks. He won't stop yelling at me. I think I need to leave. I'm scared. I don't know how much longer I can take this. Each one was perfectly timed and crafted. Each one meant to make me look like a monster. My hands clenched around her phone. I knew what this was. Lisa wasn't just cheating on me. She was planning something bigger. She was setting up a false abuse case. I exhaled slowly, forcing myself to stay calm. This wasn't just a fling. This wasn't just some secret boyfriend on the side. She was making a paper trail. A setup. She was preparing for a divorce. One where she could play the victim, take the house, drain our savings, and make sure I ended up looking like the bad guy. But now, I knew. And Lisa had no idea that she had already lost. Lisa had no idea. She had no idea that I had seen everything. That I knew about the fake abuse messages, the mysterious money withdrawals, and the carefully deleted conversations. She still thought I was the clueless husband, the guy sitting on the couch watching TV while she plotted to destroy me. Good. Because that meant I had time. Time to dig deeper. Time to gather more proof. Time to make sure that when I hit back, I hit so hard that Lisa wouldn't know what the hell happened. The next day, I called in sick to work. Lisa left for her usual morning errands, purse slung over her shoulder, humming like she didn't have a care in the world. The second her car pulled out of the driveway, I got to work. I went straight to our home office, the one she almost never used. Lisa wasn't great with technology. She had her phone locked down, sure, but she never thought twice about her laptop. She probably figured I had no reason to snoop around. I booted it up. No password. Idiot. I clicked through her emails first, and that's where I found it. The lawyer. She had been emailing a divorce attorney for the last 3 months. I'm working on gathering evidence of his behavior. I've started moving money, so I have my own financial security. Once I have the restraining order in place, I assume I'll have full access to our home and assets. That one hit me the hardest. Lisa wasn't just planning to leave me. She was planning to gut me. Take the house, take the money, and leave me with nothing. I clenched my jaw and kept digging. There were bank statements too, confirming my suspicions. She had been transferring money to a hidden account. Over $10,000 so far. That wasn't just spending money for herself. That was war preparation. And then, in one final email, she laid out her entire timeline. Fake the emotional distress. Fake the financial need. Get the restraining order. File for divorce and take everything. It was so neat. So planned out. Like I was some fool who wouldn't fight back. Wrong move, Lisa. I copied everything. Emails, bank records, lawyer communication. Saved it to a USB. Then emailed it to myself, my best friend, and my personal email under a fake name. Just in case. Next, I checked her texts. And that's when I found him. Her boyfriend. I had suspected it before, but now I had proof. The messages weren't explicit. Lisa was too smart for that. But they didn't have to be. I can't wait to start our life together. After next month, we'll be free. He's still clueless, don't worry. The name on the messages? Work. Clever. But not clever enough. Because I knew Lisa's work schedule. And she sure as hell wasn't texting her boss at midnight saying she missed his touch. I had everything I needed. The money transfers. The divorce setup. The restraining order scam. And now, the affair. But I wasn't done yet. No, I needed one last piece before I made my move. I needed to see them together. I needed video proof. So I set up hidden cameras. One in the living room, one in the kitchen, and one in the bedroom. Then, I sat back and waited. Because Lisa thought she was playing me. But now, I was the one setting the trap. Lisa had no idea that her world was about to come crashing down. She still thought she was ahead of me, carefully maneuvering her way toward her escape plan. In her mind, she was playing me, setting the stage for her grand exit while I remained clueless. But in reality, she was walking straight into my trap. I had spent days preparing. The hidden cameras were in place. My evidence was secure, and all I had to do now was catch her in the act. It was a Friday night, and like clockwork, Lisa was going out with the girls. She kissed me on the cheek, grabbed her purse, and walked out the door with that same fake casualness she had perfected over the last few months. I waited a few minutes before getting into my car and following her. Not too close, not too fast. Just enough to keep her in sight without raising suspicion. She drove across town to a hotel. Not a bar. Not a restaurant. A goddamn hotel. And not even a fancy one. One of those mid-range business hotels, the kind people book when they don't plan to stay the whole night. She pulled into the parking lot near the side entrance and sat there for a minute, texting someone. Then, like a woman without a care in the world, she checked her reflection in the mirror, fixed her lipstick, and stepped out of the car. I filmed everything. Her walking inside. The time she arrived. The exact room number she went to. Then I waited. 2 hours later, he arrived. A man in a dark suit, about my age, but stockier, confident, smug. He walked with purpose, like he knew exactly where he was going, like he had done this before. And when I saw his face, it all clicked. Her boss. The same boss she had spent years complaining about. The one she claimed was arrogant and full of himself. The one she swore up and down she couldn't stand. I should have known. Women don't really hate men like that. They fuck them. I recorded him too. Him walking inside. The timestamp on my phone. The way he entered the room without hesitation. He didn't even knock. That told me everything I needed to know. I didn't need to see what happened next. I already knew. Lisa got home at 2 a.m., slipping into bed as quietly as possible, as if I wouldn't notice. I almost laughed. The smell of hotel soap clung to her skin. She probably thought she was covering her tracks. I waited until her breathing evened out, then got up and went to check the hidden cameras I had set up at home. And just like that, I had everything. I had her financial betrayal. I had her divorce plan. And now, I had the final nail in her coffin. That one thing that would make sure she didn't just lose me. She lost everything. I barely slept that night. Not because I was heartbroken. No, that part of me had died weeks ago. What kept me awake was the sheer rage. The kind that burned cold instead of hot. The kind that made me think, plan, calculate. Lisa had no idea that I knew. She still believed she was playing the part of the devoted wife, slowly setting the stage for her grand exit. She thought she was being smart, moving money, planting fake evidence, preparing to walk away with everything while I got left in the dirt. But she had underestimated me. She thought I was soft. Thought I'd break down crying when she finally dropped the bomb on me. Thought I'd let her play the victim. Let her drag my name through the mud while she waltzed off with my money and her new man. No, I was about to teach Lisa the difference between a good man and a weak man. The next morning, she kissed me before leaving for work. I let her. I even smiled as I handed her a cup of coffee, watching as she sipped it like nothing was wrong. Watching as she lied to my face and thought I was stupid enough to believe it. As soon as her car was out of sight, I got to work. The first thing I did was secure my finances. Lisa had been siphoning money into a hidden account, and I had no doubt that her end goal was to leave me dry when she filed for divorce. What she didn't know was that I had already transferred every dime of our shared savings into a new account, one only I had access to. Then I called the bank and froze our joint credit cards. If Lisa wanted to spend money, she could do it on her own dime, not mine. She wasn't just going to lose me. She was going to lose everything. Next, I made copies of everything. Her emails to the lawyer, the money transfers, the texts to her boss. I saved them on a hard drive, uploaded them to the cloud, and even printed physical copies. If Lisa thought she could manipulate the system into making me look like the villain, she was in for a rude awakening. But the best part? She still had no clue. She came home that night like nothing had changed, plopping down on the couch beside me, scrolling through her phone with that same little smirk on her face. She thought she was so damn clever. I glanced at her out of the corner of my eye. She had no idea that in less than a week, her entire life would be in ruins. The next step was simple: get legal protection before she could strike first. I called a lawyer the next day. Not just any lawyer, a shark. A guy who specialized in high-conflict divorces, the kind where one spouse tries to destroy the other. I laid everything out for him. The fake abuse allegations, the hidden money, the affair. He listened carefully, nodding as he took notes. Then he leaned back in his chair and said something that made my blood run cold. If she's setting up fake abuse claims, she might try to get a restraining order before she files for divorce. If that happens, you'll be forced out of your house before you even know what hit you. I clenched my fists. So what do? You file first. You take control of the narrative. We'll serve her with divorce papers before she even realizes what's happening. And just to be safe, we'll file a counterclaim. You accuse her of fraud, financial misconduct, and marital waste. We can prove it with your evidence. If she tries to lie, we'll bury her in court. I exhaled slowly, feeling something I hadn't felt in weeks. Control. Lisa thought she was in charge of this game. She was wrong. I signed the paperwork that afternoon. My lawyer promised he'd have everything filed and ready within the next few days. Lisa had started this war. I was about to finish it, but I wasn't done yet. There was still one last thing I needed to do before the papers were served. I needed to destroy her relationship with her boss. She wasn't just going to lose her husband. She was going to lose her future, her money, and the man she thought she was leaving me for. So I sent him an email. No text, no warning, just a single email with no subject line and a single attachment. The video, the one of him meeting Lisa at the hotel, the one of him walking into the room. No explanation, no threats, just the footage. Then I sat back and waited. I didn't have to wait long. Lisa's boss took the bait faster than I expected. Less than 2 hours after I sent the email, my phone buzzed. Blocked number. I grinned. Of course, the coward wouldn't call me directly. He didn't want anything traceable. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, I got a text. We need to talk. No greeting. No explanation. No denying what he saw. I ignored it. Let him sweat. Then I sat back and imagined what was happening on his end. He had a wife, a career, a reputation, and now he was staring at video proof that he had been fucking an employee's wife in a hotel room like some sleazy lowlife. I pictured him panicking, pacing his office, wondering if I had sent the footage to anyone else. His boss? His wife? HR? Because that was the beauty of it. I didn't even have to say a word. The mere fact that he knew I had it was enough. But I wasn't done. Lisa came home that evening completely oblivious, humming as she kicked off her heels. She tossed her purse on the counter, stretched, and smiled at me. You okay, babe? You seem quiet. I smiled back. Just a long day. Oh, she said, already scrolling through her phone. You want to watch something? The fucking audacity. She had spent the night wrapped around another man in some cheap hotel, and now she was sitting on our couch, acting like a loyal wife, pretending like nothing was wrong. I wanted to tell her right then, wanted to watch the smugness drain from her face. But no, not yet. Lisa had been slowly, carefully building up her exit plan for months. I was going to tear it down in one night. She had no idea that her entire world had just collapsed behind her back. The first domino fell the next morning. Lisa was in the shower when her phone buzzed. Then again, and again. I glanced at the screen. Work, 6 missed calls. I smirked. Looks like her boss was spiraling. A few minutes later, Lisa came out, towel wrapped around her, hair dripping. She grabbed her phone, tapped the screen, and froze. I watched as she scrolled through her messages, her eyes widening. Then, in a panic, she started calling him back. No answer. She tried again, then again. Still nothing. Her fingers flew across the screen as she typed out a message. What's going on? Call me ASAP. No response. She bit her lip, staring at the screen. The first crack in her carefully rehearsed mask. I stood in the doorway, sipping my coffee. Everything okay? I asked, barely hiding my grin. She forced a smile, slipping her phone behind her back. Yeah, just work stuff. That's weird, I said, raising an eyebrow. You never get calls this early. Lisa laughed nervously. Yeah, just a miscommunication, I think. She had no idea that I already knew. No idea that her boyfriend was about to throw her under the bus. I sat back and waited. Because this was only the beginning. Lisa was unraveling, and it was beautiful to watch. She kept checking her phone, waiting for a reply that wasn't coming. Every time the screen stayed blank, I could see the panic creeping in. The way her lips pressed together, the way her fingers twitched like she wanted to call him again but didn't want to seem desperate. She had no idea that I was watching every second of it. I played dumb, sipping my coffee, flipping through my phone like I didn't notice a damn thing. Something wrong? I asked casually. Lisa blinked, snapping out of it. No, just work stuff. The same lie, twice now. She was slipping, but I wasn't going to push her. No, I wanted her to sink all on her own. She left for work in a rush, barely pecking me on the cheek before grabbing her purse and practically sprinting out the door. I smirked as I watched her go. I already knew how this was going to play out. Her boss had seen the video. He had spent the whole night panicking, wondering if I had sent it to his wife. His boss, HR. He didn't know what to do, so he did what cowards always do. He ghosted her. Lisa was about to learn the hard way that she was not his priority. She was just a fun distraction, right up until the moment she became a liability. By noon, my phone buzzed. It was her. Lisa, hey babe, do you have time to grab lunch? Interesting. She never asked me to meet for lunch. Not unless she wanted something. I waited a few minutes before replying. Me? Sure. Where? She picked a cafe near her office. Somewhere public. That told me everything I needed to know. She was nervous. She wasn't sure how she looked. She wanted to make sure I wasn't suspicious. I let her wait for me. When I finally walked in, she was already sitting at a table by the window, stirring her iced coffee like her life depended on it. She looked up when she saw me, and for the first time in months, her expression wasn't smug. It was tense. I sat down, leaning back in my chair. What's up? I asked, acting like I had no clue what was going on. Lisa hesitated. Nothing. I just wanted to see you. Bullshit. I raised an eyebrow. Oh yeah? She fidgeted with her straw, eyes darting down to her phone for a split second before she looked back at me. Yeah, she said, smiling, but it didn't reach her eyes. We haven't had lunch together in forever. I let the silence drag out, watched her squirm. Everything okay at work? I finally asked. She forced a laugh. Yeah, just some restructuring. You know how it is. So that's what he told her. That's what they always say before they cut you loose. I just nodded. Makes sense. Lisa took a sip of her drink, eyes flicking back toward the door, like she was expecting someone to walk in at any moment. She wasn't worried about me. She was worried about him. I could practically hear the thoughts racing through her head. Why isn't he answering my calls? Why hasn't he texted me back? Does he know something? She was unraveling. But I wasn't done with her yet. Not even close. When Lisa got home that night, she was a wreck. Her usual confidence was gone. She barely spoke during dinner, pushing food around her plate, checking her phone every few minutes. I could see the stress eating at her, the cracks spreading in her perfect little world. I almost felt bad. Almost. She finally broke around 9 p.m. Hey, she said, trying to sound casual. Have you gotten any weird messages today? I looked up from my laptop, pretending to be confused. Weird how? She shrugged, playing with the hem of her shirt. I don't know. Just anything unusual. I tilted my head, letting her sweat. You mean like a scam call? Some spam texts? Lisa let out a nervous laugh. Yeah, something like that. I set my laptop aside, watching her. She was waiting for me to say it, waiting for me to tell her that I had gotten an anonymous email about her affair, that I had found out about her little secret, but I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction. Nope, I said, shaking my head. Just the usual junk mail. Lisa's smile wavered. Oh, okay, cool. She sat there for a moment, then got up and went to the kitchen, probably to check her phone again. I leaned back on the couch, smiling to myself. She was spiraling. She had no idea if I knew. No idea if her boss had cracked and told someone. No idea if her entire plan had just gone up in flames. I gave her one more day to let her paranoia eat away at her. Then, the next morning, I set the final trap. I waited until she was in the shower, then grabbed her phone. I didn't unlock it. I didn't need to. I just held it up to my face and let the facial recognition do the rest. It opened instantly. I scrolled through her messages, and there it was. Her final, desperate text to her boss. Lisa, are you okay? I feel like something's wrong. Lisa, please call me. I need to talk. Lisa, this isn't funny. Are you ignoring me? Lisa, I don't know what's going on, but I'm really scared. And then, finally, his response. One single, brutal message. Him, lose my number. I laughed out loud. Lisa was fucked. Her entire escape plan, gone. Her new life, over before it even began. She had burned everything for this guy, and now he wanted nothing to do with her. She had betrayed me, and in return, she got nothing. But I still wasn't done. I had one last gift to give her. That afternoon, while she was out, I left an envelope on the kitchen counter. Inside was a printed copy of the divorce papers, and on top of them, a single sticky note. You should have been more careful. Lisa came home late that evening, her usual confidence completely gone. She wasn't humming. She wasn't scrolling through her phone with that smug little smirk. No, she walked in like a woman on the edge of a breakdown. She had spent the whole day trying to reach him. I knew because I checked her messages again before she got home. Lisa, please, just tell me what's happening. Lisa, I don't understand. Lisa, I need to talk to you. Lisa, I can fix this. And the best part? Nothing. Her boss had completely cut her off. That man she had risked everything for, thrown away our marriage for, the one she had spent months plotting a future with, he had ghosted her without a second thought. And now, as she walked into the kitchen and saw the envelope waiting for her on the counter, I knew exactly what was running through her head. The fear, the panic, because deep down, she knew. She knew her carefully crafted little world had just collapsed. I watched from the living room as she hesitated before picking it up. Her hands were shaking. She peeled off the sticky note, read the words I had left for her. You should have been more careful. And that's when I saw it. The exact moment she realized that I had known everything. Her breath hitched. Her fingers clutched the papers too tightly, crumpling the edges. She flipped through the pages, her eyes darting over the legal terms she didn't understand, her mind trying to catch up. Then she turned around and saw me, sitting there, watching her, waiting. Her face went pale. What is this? I leaned back, completely calm. You tell me. Lisa's mouth opened, but nothing came out. She swallowed hard, shaking her head. This isn't. Divorce papers, I said, cutting her off. Filed yesterday. Should be official soon. Her eyes widened. She shook her head faster. Wait, no, Ben. Just, can we talk? I laughed. Actually laughed. After months of her bullshit, her lies, her smug attitude. Now she wanted to talk? Talk about what, Lisa? I asked, standing up. How you've been stealing from me? Planning to frame me for abuse? Screwing your boss in a hotel room while I sat at home like an idiot? Her lips parted slightly, but she had no defense. She knew she was caught. She didn't even bother denying it. Instead, her eyes filled with tears. Ben, please, I can explain. Explain what? I snapped, stepping closer. How you were gonna take everything from me. How you were setting me up to lose the house, my money, hell, maybe even my job. Or were you about to explain how he was supposed to take care of you after you threw me away? Lisa flinched. I laughed again. Oh, wait. He's not answering your calls, is he? That hit her like a punch to the gut. I watched the realization sink in. The truth that she had burned everything for a man who didn't even want her anymore. Her lip trembled. I made a mistake. You think? I scoffed. Lisa, you didn't make a mistake. You made a choice. Over and over again. And now? You get to live with it. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I didn't care. She took a shaky step forward, hands reaching for me like she could somehow fix this. Ben, please, I don't want this. I don't want to lose you. I stepped back. You already did. Lisa broke. She collapsed right there in the kitchen, sobbing like the victim in a story she had written for herself. But I wasn't going to fall for it. Not after everything. I turned around and headed upstairs. Sign the papers, Lisa. That was the last thing I said before I walked out of the room, leaving her crying on the kitchen floor. She had spent months planning my downfall, and in the end, she was the one who lost everything. Lisa didn't sign the papers that night. She sat in the kitchen for hours, probably thinking of a way to manipulate her way out of this. Probably hoping she could cry enough, beg enough, lie enough to turn things around. But I didn't care. She had spent months carefully plotting my destruction, and now she was living in the ruins of her own making. By morning, she tried again. She must have stayed up all night because when I walked downstairs, she looked like hell. Mascara smudged under her eyes, her hair a mess, still in the same clothes from yesterday. But she had a new tactic. Ben, she said softly, like we were just two people having a rough patch in our marriage. I know I hurt you. I know I screwed up. I grabbed a coffee mug from the cabinet, unfazed. No shit. She swallowed hard, twisting her fingers together. But I don't want this. I don't want to lose you. I sipped my coffee. Should have thought about that before you fucked your boss. Her lip trembled. Fake tears. I had seen it before. Ben, I was confused, she tried. I got caught up in something, and I didn't know how to stop. I actually laughed. You didn't know how to stop? I shook my head. Lisa, you planned this for months. You hid money. You talked to a divorce lawyer. You wrote fake texts to make me look abusive. That's not getting caught up in something. That's premeditated betrayal. She took a step forward, reaching for my hand. But I don't want to go through with it anymore. I don't care about him. I just want us. I pulled my hand away. There is no us. Not anymore. A flash of anger crossed her face. There she was. The real Lisa. The one who had spent months thinking she was smarter than me. The one who thought she could take me down and walk away untouched. You're really just going to throw this away? She snapped, her voice sharp now. Over one mistake? I set my coffee down, meeting her glare with a cold, steady stare. You threw this away, I said. And it wasn't one mistake. It was every single lie, every plan, every time you walked out that door to be with him. That wasn't a mistake, Lisa. That was a choice. She opened her mouth, but I was already done. I grabbed the divorce papers from the counter, grabbed a pen, and slammed them in front of her. Sign them. Her jaw clenched. And if I don't? I smiled. Then I send everything to your family, to your friends, to your job. I tilted my head. I'm sure HR would love to see how you and your boss were spending your business trips. Lisa's face drained of color. She knew I wasn't bluffing. Her one safety net, the man she had risked everything for, had already cut her off. If she refused to sign, I would take away everything else. Her hands shook as she grabbed the pen. She flipped through the pages, and I could almost see the reality sinking in. This wasn't just a fight. This wasn't something she could fix. This was final. And the best part? This wasn't even her biggest loss. She thought she was leaving me for a better life. Instead, she was walking away with nothing. No husband. No money. No future. She signed her name at the bottom, her movements stiff and robotic. When she finished, she set the pen down and let out a shaky breath. She didn't look at me. She didn't say another word. She just sat there, staring at the papers like she was finally realizing what she had done. I took them without a word and walked out the door. I didn't look back. Lisa had spent months planning my downfall, and in the end, she had destroyed herself. A year after the divorce, I barely thought about Lisa anymore. She was just a lesson learned, a ghost from my past. Someone who once shared my life before she burned it to the ground and got caught in the fire herself. But one day, I ran into an old mutual friend, Mike. He had always been more her friend than mine, but we were friendly enough back in the day. Man, he said, shaking his head, I still can't believe what happened with you and Lisa. I smirked, sipping my beer. Yeah? What part? Mike let out a dry laugh. Take your pick. The affair, the way she tried to set you up, the way her boss dumped her the second things got messy. He whistled. That was brutal. Couldn't have happened to a better person, I said, not even bothering to hide my satisfaction. Mike chuckled. Yeah, well, it gets worse. I raised an eyebrow. Oh. He leaned in. You heard what happened to her after the divorce, right? I hadn't. And honestly, I hadn't cared enough to check. But now, I was curious. Mike grinned. Well, first off, her boss? Turns out he wasn't just avoiding her. His wife found out. She filed for divorce, took the house, the kids, and half his damn salary. Dude got wrecked. I laughed. Couldn't have happened to a better guy. But Lisa, Mike continued, shaking his head, she tried to play the victim, you know? Act like you blindsided her. Like you were some cruel asshole who just up and left her. Problem was, no one bought it. People knew. Word got around. She lost a lot of friends. Shocking, I said dryly. Right? Mike smirked. Anyway, after that, she tried to go after some rich guy. Figured she could land on her feet. But turns out, guys with money, they do their research. No one wanted to touch her after her reputation got around. I couldn't stop grinning. Lisa had gambled everything and lost. She had burned her bridges, and now she was out there, struggling to rebuild a life that she had destroyed with her own hands. For a brief second, I almost felt bad for her. Almost. But then I remembered the fake texts, the stolen money, the smug way she had looked at me while planning my downfall. No, she got exactly what she deserved. Mike shook his head. Last I heard, she's working some boring office job, barely making rent. She's got nothing, man. Nothing. Fitting, I said, finishing my beer. Lisa had spent months scheming, plotting, thinking she was going to walk away with everything. But in the end, she walked away with nothing. And me? I walked away free. And damn, did it feel good. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. See you soon.